Welcome to this video on multi-currency functionality in Business Central. This is a series of 4 videos that will take you through the standard multi-currency functionality within Business Central. First of all, let's do an introduction. Who is Minerva? So Minerva is a Microsoft Nav partner. We first became a partner in 2011, and we were one of the first implementation partners for Business Central. We provide full implementation, training, and upgrade services for Business Central. Who is Aptitude? Aptitude is a sister company to Minerva, and Aptitude is an app developer. And one of the apps that's under development right now is a multi-currency app, which will be coming in 2023. My name is Paul Fernandez. I founded both companies. My background is I'm a qualified accountant with 25 years experience, held a variety of different positions in accounting and finance, as you can see on the screen, and including a lot of multi-currency experience. So these 4 sessions are going to take you through multi-currency foreign exchange functionality in Business Central. This is the standard out-of-the-box functionality, and it can be confusing for people who don't have experience with foreign exchange or multi-currency. So we're going to go through this starting with very basic functionality. In session 1, we'll look at the local currency. What is the local currency of your company? It's also known as a functional currency. We'll look at the general ledger setup to see where you set the local currency, and we'll look at the currency cards in the system. In session 2, we'll look at currency setup, which includes exchange rates, exchange rate service, entering a multi-currency journal entry, and also looking at customer and vendor foreign currency setup. In session 3, we'll look at the additional reporting currency, which you may or may not have set up in your system. We'll talk about why you would set it up, or if you need to set it up. And we'll also look at the chart of accounts, which is has a lot of direct functionality relating to additional reporting currency. And then in session 4, we're going to look at revaluations, which typically you would do at the end of each accounting period, maybe monthly or quarterly or at the end of the year. Now, before we begin, there are some important concepts that you need to understand in Business Central. So, first of all, in the general ledger only has the local currency, and it may or may not have the additional reporting currency. This additional reporting currency can be added or not. It's optional. Notice that there is no foreign currency in the GL. Now, in these 3 subledgers, so the bank ledger, the vendor ledger, the customer ledger, these ledgers have the local currency, which could be US dollars for a US company, as well as they may have foreign currencies, depending on what the transaction is. So if you've got a US company and you're making payments in, let's say, Canadian dollars, then you might have a Canadian bank account, and the Canadian dollar would be the foreign currency. The local currency would be US dollars. Same thing with the vendor ledger. You may have a Canadian vendor that you're dealing with that you have to pay them in Canadian dollars, or it might be a European vendor in euros. Same thing in the customer ledger. You might have customers that are not all being invoiced in US dollars. Maybe they're being invoiced in some other currency. So these 3 ledgers hold both the local currency and the foreign currency. But notice that they don't have the additional reporting currency, which is the ACY. They only have the local and the foreign currency. And in the GL, It does not have the foreign currency. It only has the local currency or the additional reporting currency. So these are important concepts that you need to remember as you go through these different videos, these different sessions that we're going to go through. And I'll probably come back to this at various points in the next 4 sessions. So let's look at Business Central. I'm in Kronos USA, which is a US demo company that comes with the software. And let's start looking at local currency. So local currency is set up in the general ledger setup. So I've got a shortcut here. And in the general ledger setup, you enter the currency code of whatever your local currency is. So if you're a US company, it would be US dollars. If you're a Canadian company, it would be Canadian dollars. And then you put in the currency symbol. So this is a dollar sign, and also the name of the currency, US dollars. And this local currency description and the symbol might be printed on checks or other documents, depending on what, where in the system it applies. So that's the local currency. And let's take a look at the currency cards. So currencies can be found if you search. I've got a shortcut, but if I don't, I can just search for currencies. And in this company, I've got 3. So the first thing to notice is that there is no US dollar currency set up because I'm in a US company with the local currency is US dollars. And the only place that you need to set that up is in the general ledger setup where I just showed it to you. A common mistake that people make is that they create a US dollar currency card or currency symbol and a currency code like this. So this is a mistake. Don't do this. But some people will set up a US dollar currency card and then they put an exchange rate of 1.0, meaning 1.0 US dollars equals 1 local currency US dollar. Now, the way that the system is going to interpret this is it's going to think that this US dollar currency is not the same as the local currency US dollars. It's another currency with this code, which just happens to be the same as the local currency code. So that's a common mistake that people make. Don't do this. I'm going to delete it. And I've got 3 currency codes in here. Let's take a look at the first one, the Canadian dollar. So this is the currency card, and we've given it a code, a description, a symbol, and then we've put in the gains and loss accounts that come from the chart of accounts. So this is getting into a little bit of accounting, but there are 4 different accounts that you may or may not have. You need at least one of them. So if you want to separate unrealized gains and unrealized losses and realized gains and realized losses, if you want to separate those into 2 accounts, one for unrealized and one for realized, then you can do that. Or you could put them all in the same account. It totally depends on what you want to do with your accounting. But you have to have at least 1, preferably 2 accounts. 4 accounts is probably overkill, but you can certainly do that as well, the way that this is set up. And then you have to put some roundings and things. This is all out of the box defaults. And at the bottom, you need to fill these in. This is important if you can leave it blank, but then you're going to run into an error message when you're doing some transactions elsewhere in the system. You may run into an error message saying that the residual gains account does not exist. So you should fill these in and As you can see, I've made this 48,300 and 48,400, which is similar to the realized gains here, the realized gains and realized losses. So that's the first thing you need to do, is create a currency card for each currency that you're going to be dealing with in the system. Now, you can have as many currencies as you need. I've seen some customers that set up 100, but they might only use 5 or 10 of them. So you really don't need to set up more than you need. If you're dealing with 2 currencies, including your local currency, then you only need to set up 2 currency cards. And remember not to set up a currency card for the local currency. So that's the currency card. And then the next thing is you need to put in some exchange rates. And we'll get into that in the second session. So that's it for this session. Thank you very much for joining this video. And the second session will deal with exchange rates. Before I go, this is my contact information. So once again, Minerva is the consulting services company. Aptitude is our app developer. My name is Paul Fernandez. Here's my phone number and my email address. Thank you again for watching this video.